Alright, let's do this. Hello viewers, another beautiful day. Yeah, hope your 5 senses work. Health and strength is good. Or excellent. Got this article here, 2 of them though, on the same subject. Says here, Zero G PvP shooter closing down after only a year. Says here, Boundry, a multiplayer PvP shooter set in unique environments of zero gravity space, initially held promise with its intriguing concept. However, despite its appeal, it seemed that it wasn't enough to sustain player interest, leading to its closure after a year. It says it's Boundary, subtopic Boundary. It says it's unfortunate that Boundary has failed. It's not like nobody knew about it. The game was able to sell 100,000 copies in its first 24 hours on sale, as well as racking up thousands of mostly positive Steam reviews. The issue came from the developer, who were unable to keep delivering the necessary updates and improvements. And then it says what Skystone had to say. It says here, after careful consideration, Skystone has decided to relinquish the publishing rights for Boundary, effective at the end of June. Over the past few months, there have been significant delays and a notable absence of content updates for Boundary. Despite our best efforts and support, the developer has been unable to deliver the unnecessary updates and improvements to keep the game thriving. This has led to growing concerns with our community, and we share your frustrations. It says, unfortunately, the developer has made the difficult decision to cease all service for the game instead of continuing to run it in its current state. That's one article, right? Okay, here's where game developer comes in. Listen to this one, sounds more better. Listen to this. Online shooter Boundary shut down as devs and publisher clash over rights. Says here, Surgical Scalpel claims Skystone Games owe its money and hopes to relaunch Boundary after it regains the game rights. Says here, last week publisher Skystone Games announced its early access shooter Boundary is going offline at the end of June. But what first sounded like a standard tale of an online game going down is actually more thornier than expected. In the announcement for the game closure, Skystone claimed it give publishing rights to developer Surgical Scalpel. It then went on to claim the studio failed to update and improve the game, in turn leading to growing concerns from players. But as PC Gamer spotted, Surgical Scalpel has a different side of the story. Per the developer translate post, Skystone allegedly, and then it says in parentheses, abruptly, decide to stop supporting Boundary, a move it called unreasonable and unfair. Then it says to us in parentheses, and players. Then it says, we immediately negotiate with Skystone after receiving the notice. It's added, but unfortunately we failed to change Skystone on literal decision to stop operating Boundary. Sometimes a publisher will give the developer their game rights without much friction, but in case where feuds do break out, it can often concern games at risk of being delisted or going offline, if that's not a consequence of the feud to begin with. Says here, at the time of writing, it's Surgical Scalpel that's aimed to get the game right back in the hopes of a future relaunch. It's also working to get the money from Skystone it claimed to be owed, though it stopped short of saying how much and how long It's gone without being paid. Says while this dispute has resulted in Boundry being suspended, Surgical Scalpel assured the game will not stop forever. We will never give up. And that is the end of both articles. And I'll leave the link in the description box. Now, you know what this sounds like? It's kind of like in the music industry, where you see people selling their masters. You know, in the game industry, you don't just give off, you don't just try to, you don't just sell off your games, to another studio, or to another developer, I mean, right now, if you look at who was that? If you look at who was that? The developer that just raised $700 million bucks, for 700 million for their for their games, I would say the developers of Boundry, they should have used like crowdfunding, Kickstarters, to get funding for the game, and then try to launch the game that way, without a publisher, and because once you give a game over to like a publisher or so, like a big name publisher, they might have the resource, and then they like take over the game, but like from an independent standpoint, you have Kickstarter, you have Patreons, you have what's that, like a GoFundMe account that you can use, and of course there's grants, there's money that you can raise, as an independent company to get the funds you need, to get funds so you can develop the game based on the number of employees you have, and go the independent route, and then take it from there. But once you get under a publisher, man, yeah, it's a lot of tape you got to go through, just to get the game published. But based on both articles right now, look like the developer is really trying to get the game back relaunched, and then go on from there. So yeah, another chapter in the video game industry, with studios and games being delisted and being being enlisted and delisted. Another chapter, one article this article, the one from eTechnics has a trailer for Boundry. So I'm going to leave the link in the description box for that, for both articles, and you can see it for yourself. Yeah. One article, one article talks about the developer talking about they want to cease. They made a difficult decision to cease all services for the game instead of continuing to run it in its current state. But the one from game developer now went a little bit more deeper with this, and yeah. One saying the move was unreasonable and unfair to us, in parentheses, and then it says outside the parentheses and said players, but then it says they tried to negotiate with SkyZone, after receiving the notice, and didn't go so good. So it says here, but unfortunately we failed to change Skystone on, unilateral decision to stop operating Boundry. Yeah. So yeah, then it says sometimes a publisher will give the developer their game rights. Not good. A publisher will give the developer their game rights. Not good. Without much friction, but in a case where feuds do break out, it can often concern game at risk being delisted or going offline. If that's not a consequence of the feud to begin, with, then he says at the time of writing, it's Surgical Scalpel that's aiming to get the game right back in the hopes of a future relaunch. It's also working to get the money that Skystone claimed to be owed, though it stopped short of seeing how much and how long it's gone without being paid. Yeah, that's why we have Kickstarters. that's why we got Kickstarters, we got crowdfunding, we got Patreon, we got what's that? And GoFundMe, man. Yeah, those are come in handy when to like generate enough money, to get the game to pay your employees, to get the game developed, to pay your employees, and keep the server up and running. For the time being, until the game itself like generate money, based on sales and user-based numbers, and then you can carry on from there. Yeah. Anyway, that's the story with that. But I will leave the link in the description box and let you look at the trailer. By the looks of the trailer, they kind of remind me. I think it was Call of Duty Ghost. They kind of remind me of Call of Duty Ghost when they were out, they were out in outer space a little bit. Anyway, I'm gonna leave this video for you to enjoy though. Nice talking to you people again. Chris, still a Star Wars and Star Trek thing. Board, dark side. Go. Peace.